Hello, and welcome to Starry Storytime, a gentle, soothing space where evening stories and soft whispers guide you into a peaceful night's rest. Tonight, we're offering another relaxing tale designed to help ease your mind and lead you toward a comforting slumber. Before we begin, let's take a moment to prepare our bodies and minds for deep rest. Find a comfortable position, and with each slow inhale and soft exhale, let any worries from the day quietly slip away. It can be challenging to step away from the day's hustle, especially when it's time to sleep. Yet remember, the less we worry about falling asleep, the easier it becomes for our minds to let go of lingering tension. Allow the gentle rhythm of your breath to wash away any remaining concerns, and let tonight's story guide you into serenity. Now, settle in and let the soothing aura of Starry Storytime surround you. May you enjoy this story and drift into a tranquil, restorative night's sleep. In a city spun from sunlight and whispers of sand, lived a boy named Kalen. His days unfolded between the structured lessons of school and the languid, unstructured hours that followed, shared amongst kin and companions. Afternoons saw him swallowed by the city's labyrinthine embrace, tracing the veins of its narrow alleys with friends, their laughter echoing through bustling markets, their games stirring dust motes in the sun-baked square. Then, as twilight painted the sky in hues of bruised plum and fading gold, Kalen would turn homeward, towards the sprawling adobe dwelling that housed his sprawling family. The uppermost floor held the room Kalen shared with his two elder brothers, a space filled with the quiet camaraderie of shared dreams. Below lay the chambers of his parents, his aunt, his grandparents, a constellation of familial presence. But the heart of the home pulsed on the ground floor, the largest expanse where the family's lifeblood flowed, the shop and the workshop. For generations uncounted, Kalen's lineage had conjured miracles from wool and dye, their carpets renowned as the city's finest treasures. Patrons journeyed from distant lands, seeking bespoke artistry or selecting from the wonders already arrayed. What wonders they were! Small prayer mats, intimate squares of devotion in emerald and gold, adorned the shop walls like captured jewels. Scarlet expanses unfurled across the floor, their surfaces alive with intricate arabesques traced in metallic thread that caught the light, and tucked away, rolled tight like ancient scrolls, slumbered the colossal, costly carpets, too magnificent for casual display, their densely woven depths promising dazzling floral galaxies and patterns nested within patterns when finally unfurled. Returning home, Kalen always savored the passage through the shop, offering a quiet greeting to his aunt presiding over the counter. Moving through this gallery of woven dreams, he'd push through the beaded curtains separating shop from sanctum. He loved the cool, whispering cascade of the beads against his skin, the delicate chime they sang as he passed into the shadowed space beyond. This back room was the workshop, the loom-filled chamber where creation unfolded. Here, his parents and elder brothers were invariably found, perched on cushions before the towering vertical frames, their concentration absolute, a silent enchantment binding them to the warp and weft. Kaelin often hesitated at the threshold, reluctant to break the spell. He would linger, observing the fluid dance of their fingers, marveling at the effortless skill that flowed through them. Currently, their collective focus poured into 2 immense carpets, commissioned by a man of great wealth from a neighboring metropolis, labors that would consume months. His parents commanded one loom, his brothers the other. Cross-legged they sat, hands blurring across the taut wool strands, movements so swift, so elegant, they resembled musicians coaxing melodies from silent harps. Kaelin watched, mesmerized by the grace born of long practice. He understood, from abortive attempts, the immense difficulty, the unwavering patience demanded, the wellspring of creativity needed, the meticulous precision that bordered on obsession. It required a particular digital finesse, a weaver's touch that Kaelin, despite patient tutelage from parents, grandparents, and brothers, knew he did not possess. He had made a quiet peace with the likelihood that his future lay outside the family craft. What shape that future might take remained fluid, shifting with the currents of his imagination. Some days he envisioned himself a traveling merchant, astride a hardy horse, traversing sun-scorched deserts and stark mountain passes. Other times he dreamt of charting celestial bodies, an astronomer unlocking the universe's whispered secrets from a high tower. Or perhaps, simpler still, he would remain here, amidst the familiar comfort of a home, selling the breathtaking tapestries his family wrought. That held its own appeal, staying rooted in the place, among the people he cherished. But adulthood felt distant, a hazy horizon. Time stretched before him, ample space to discern his path. For now, contentment lay in observing his family's artistry, in drifting through the house's familiar spaces as evening deepened and the aroma of his grandmother's spiced rice dish, his favorite, began to perfume the air, mingling with the scent of wool and dye as his parents and brothers put the final threads into the day's labor. Kaelin slipped back through the rattling bead curtain. He found solace wandering the densely packed aisles of the shop, his gaze tracing the intricate journeys woven into the carpets ready for sale. So many creations, each a universe of beauty. He'd run a finger across the yielding wool, following labyrinthine patterns from edge to core, a soothing pilgrimage along a curving line to its central stillness. Touching the carpets, a curious notion sometimes surfaced, that the different colors and forms possessed distinct tactile sensations. Logically, he knew the material was largely uniform, sheep's wool, transformed by natural dyes derived from roots and berries. Yet, as his fingertip traversed from crimson to indigo, from a woven petal to a twining vine, an undeniable shift occurred within him. A pleasant tremor, like a cool zephyr on a sultry night, would course through his veins. These carpets held something more than mere artistry. They held a whisper of magic. His attention invariably snagged on one particular piece. Dominating the back wall hung a large rectangular rug, its plush field a profound burgundy, yet seemingly containing every shade imaginable: emerald green, saffron yellow, lapis lazuli blue, shimmering accents of silver, gold, and nacreous white. It was as if a stray moonbeam had become ensnared in the threads, illuminating the design from within. The carpet's heart depicted the tree of life, a magnificent golden entity, its countless luminous branches heavy with symbolic fruit. In each of the four corners nestled a small, exquisitely detailed garden, enclosed by an ornamental wall. What captivated Kaelin most was the subtle variance between these miniature Edens. From afar, the composition appeared perfectly symmetrical. 4 identical gardens, 4 identical central fountains. But draw closer, and distinctions bloomed. One garden suggested a fig orchard, another overflowed with pomegranate trees. The fauna shifted too. Goats gave way to hens, horses to preening peacocks. Even the grass differed. One corner boasted vertical blades of golden light, while the garden below shimmered with silver waves reminiscent of a tranquil sea. In his younger years, Kaelin had lost hours before this carpet, hypnotized by its dense tapestry of detail, his gaze migrating from one garden to the next, pondering which paradise he preferred. He imagined possessing such a garden one day, complete with fountain, peacocks, and pomegranates. Now, slightly older, the gardens still held their allure, but his thoughts also turned to the weaver, his great-grandmother. Family lore held that she had birthed this masterpiece single-handedly in a mere few months, the vision gifted to her in a dream. Kaelin had never known her, yet contemplating her creation forged a palpable connection across time. Though he lacked her gift, pride swelled within him, pride in being kin to one who could manifest such profound beauty. Unlike its neighbors, the garden carpet was never offered for sale. It was deemed priceless, a sacred family heirloom. Were a potentate to arrive offering coffers overflowing with gold, the family would remain unmoved. Kaelin felt a quiet gladness knowing his favorite carpet would always hang there, commanding its place of honor on the back wall. An ever-present source of wonder for him to explore, detail by dreamy detail. Later, cocooned in the profound silence of night, the house asleep around him, Kaelin found his thoughts returning to the carpet. Fragments of the day drifted through his mind. The sun-drenched square where he'd lingered with friends, the vibrant skeins of newly dyed wool drying like captured rainbows on the patio, and the woven visions of the 4 gardens, each a glittering, self-contained paradise. Sleep remained elusive, yet he wasn't restless. Content instead to lie watching the slow parade of images float through his consciousness. The room was hushed, punctuated only by the soft, rhythmic breathing of his brothers, and the distant, melancholic cry of a night bird piercing the stillness. It felt as if he and the bird were the sole waking sentinels of the dark. When sleep proved particularly coy, Kaelin often rose. A quiet perambulation through the house, a deep draught of cool air on the roof terrace. This ritual often cleared his mind, leaving him paradoxically refreshed, yet more receptive to slumber. Returning to bed, sleep usually claimed him the instant his head met the pillow. And so, after lying awake for some time, Kalen slipped from his bed. Lighting a small candle, he donned soft slippers and padded silently across the floor, careful not to disturb his brothers. Down the stairs he crept, step by slow step, until he stood within the shadowed expanse of the shop. In the midnight hush, the shop transformed into a sanctuary. Silence reigned absolute, the only illumination cast by his candle's unsteady flame and the ethereal moonlight filtering through a high window. Silver beams seemed to alight gently upon the stacked carpets. Kalen smiled, observing the tender fall of light. Perhaps the moon, too, understood the need for quiet reverence in this space. Soon he would step outside onto the terrace. The night air was warm, promising a soothing breeze before he returned to bed. But first, a final private communion with the garden carpet on the wall. He cherished this solitude, the absence of the daytime bustle, no aunt at the counter, no chattering customers to dilute the magic. Just him, the flickering candlelight, and the woven splendor of the tree and its gardens. Time seemed suspended. The shifting light played tricks, blurring colors, creating fleeting optical illusions. Then something impossible happened. The carpet itself seemed to stir as if touched by a phantom breeze. A gentle undulation spread through the heavy fabric, causing the patterned leaves to ripple like disturbed water. Kalen blinked, glancing around the still room. The air was motionless, the window shut fast. Besides, no mere night breeze could stir such a substantial weaving. He must be more tired than he thought, conjuring such phantasms. Time for bed, he chided himself. Yet as his gaze returned to the carpet, he knew with certainty it was moving, a soft ripple intensifying, billowing outward from the wall. He stepped back, astonished, as the carpet detached itself smoothly, silently, from its mooring. It floated before him, hovering in the middle of the air. Kalen blinked again, rubbed his eyes fiercely. A dream, surely. But it remained, suspended, undeniably real. He reached out a hesitant hand, his fingers brushing the soft, familiar wool fibers. It was happening. The carpet floated, flew. Now it drifted towards the stairs, resembling some vast exotic moth or a strange, buoyant sea creature, navigating the air in deliberate, slow motion. Though inanimate, in that moment, the carpet pulsed with an undeniable sentience, moving with quiet purpose, beckoning him. Kalen followed, caught in a waking trance, ascending the stairs past the silent bedrooms where his family slept, the carpet leading the way. Up he climbed until he emerged onto the flat roof terrace beneath a canopy of stars. A breathtaking night. On any other occasion, Kalen would have lost himself in contemplation of the constellations. Tonight, however, his entire being focused on the magical apparition before him. The carpet had paused its ascent, hovering now, undulating gently in the still air. Threads caught the moonlight, gleaming like spun silver. Kaelin watched, breathless with wonder. It felt torn from the pages of the fairy tales his mother whispered at bedtime long ago. Tales populated by sprites and djinn and creatures that spoke. To imagine such things was one matter, to witness them quite another. A wave of pure joy surged through him. Even if this were merely a dream, what a glorious dream it was. Yet it felt intensely real. And when the carpet unfurled itself completely, settling expectantly before him, Kaelin felt no hesitation. An instinct, deep and certain, told him what to do. He sat down in the very center of the carpet, directly upon the image of the great tree. Settling comfortably cross-legged, he stroked the velvety pile, a silent signal of readiness. The carpet seemed to understand. Seconds later, it began to ascend once more, lifting smoothly from the terrace floor. Up and up it rose until, like a bird taking wing, it launched into the night sky. Suddenly, Kaelin was soaring, borne aloft above the sleeping city, carried smoothly, effortlessly, as if he weighed nothing more than a fallen leaf. He gazed around, peering over the edge in sheer awe. Already, the ground seemed impossibly distant. It felt like riding the back of some magnificent eagle or a winged steed from legend. The carpet moved with confidence, its motion fluid and alive. Strangely, sitting upon a flying carpet felt utterly natural. Kaelin felt secure, supported, implicitly trusting its power to carry him safely. As it glided onward, he savored the aerial perspective of his city. He knew these streets intimately, yet from this vantage, they appeared alien and new. Looking down upon the mosaic of rooftops, he struggled to recognize his familiar world. Naturally, at this hour, darkness cloaked the city. Nearly all its inhabitants slumbered. The only terrestrial lights were the flickering flames of street lanterns and the occasional lonely candle burning in a window. Moonlight, however, bathed everything in a soft, silvery luminescence, eschewing sharp detail for a gentle glow. The polished rooftops gleamed like burnished metal. Kaelin imagined a secret nocturnal ritual unfolding, the moon, after midnight, performing a silent blessing, shining upon each house in turn. Meanwhile, the residents slept on, oblivious to the enchantment unfurling above their heads. Kaelin smiled. He felt privileged, the sole witness to this clandestine beauty. But as the carpet drifted eastward, towards the dark ribbon of the river, he realized his solitude was not absolute. At least one other soul shared the city's tranquil night. Near the river stood the grand university, its tall brick tower piercing the darkness. And at its apex, silhouetted against the stars, a figure peered through a telescope. Kaelin knew astronomers resided in the city, but had never glimpsed one at work. As he floated closer to the tower, curiosity drew his gaze downward. To his surprise, the astronomer was a young man, not the wizened mage Kaelin might have pictured, but someone ordinary, perhaps resembling one of his own brothers or cousins. The young man was so engrossed in his celestial observations that Kaelin thought he might pass entirely unnoticed. But just then, The astronomer stepped back from his instrument and looked up, directly at Kaelin and the impossible carpet. Mere meters of night air separated them. They stared, suspended in a moment of shared, silent astonishment. Unsure how else to respond, Kaelin offered a shy wave. After a beat of stunned hesitation, the astronomer waved back, his expression a mirror of Kaelin's own disbelief. Like Kaelin, he was likely questioning his senses, perhaps resolving to pack away his telescope and seek his bed. The carpet sailed onward, paralleling the river's course. Feeling more at ease now, Kaelin decided to lie down. The soft wool yielded beneath him, as comfortable as his own mattress. Supine, he found himself perfectly positioned for stargazing. Lacking the astronomer's lens, he could still drink in the profound beauty of the cosmos. The stars, impossibly distant, yet their ancient light journeyed across unimaginable voids to sparkle above his city, his home. From this perspective, lying on his back amidst the night sky, only stars filled his vision. It felt as though he were being gently lifted towards them, carried upward by the night breeze like a drifting seed pod. The wind caressed his skin, a soft sigh whispering through his clothes. After the day's oppressive heat, it felt wonderfully restorative, like immersing himself in cool water. He could smell the river now, its damp, earthy scent borne on the same current that carried him. Inhaling deeply, he recognized other familiar fragrances. The dry perfume of the city's dust, the sweet breath of unseen gardens below. A profound relaxation settled over Kaelin, lulled by the carpet's gentle, rhythmic sway. He could almost have drifted off to sleep right there, imagining the carpet following the river's meandering path onward, ever onward, until they reached the distant mythical sea. But the carpet, as if sensing his growing drowsiness, seemed to understand it was time. It altered course. Peering over the edge once more, Kaelin recognized the familiar contours of his own neighborhood slumbering below. There rose the familiar dome of the local temple, and nearby, the square where his afternoons unfolded in play. And now, incredibly, he hovered directly above the roof terrace, the very spot where this improbable journey had commenced. The carpet had brought him home. It descended with the same ethereal gentleness with which it had taken flight, lowering him so gradually, so softly, that the landing was almost imperceptible. Stepping off onto the cool tiles, Kaelin turned towards the stairs, leading down to his room. This time, the carpet followed, trailing him like a devoted, silent companion. When Kaelin climbed back into his bed, the carpet settled onto the floor beside him. Perhaps it too felt weary, Kaelin mused. After their long, wondrous flight, both were sleepy, ready for repose. As Kaelin burrowed into his pillow, adjusting the sheets for comfort, he noticed the carpet performing a similar settling. Almost imperceptibly, it shifted its position on the floor. Then a faint ripple traversed its patterned surface, as if a soft breeze still lingered within its fibers. Kaelin imagined the carpet drawing a deep, contented breath, mirroring his own. A slow inhale, a quiet exhale. Kaelin closed his eyes. At long last, sleep felt close, welcome. Moments later, he drifted away, his dreams filled with the rush of wind, the diamond dust of stars, and the lingering magic of his moonlit flight. Kaelin, divinity of the lunar sphere and arcane arts, finds solace in the nocturnal hours for his craft. Beneath the silvered luminescence of moon and distant stars, his quill finds its truest flow. Tonight, a narrative unfurls concerning Solarian, the sun incarnate, and the mortals dwelling in the land nourished by the great river. His reed instrument etches faint trails upon the waiting papyrus, weaving the chronicle. Soon, the horizon will bleed light, and Solarian shall surge forth from the godly domain, leaving Kaelin to journey toward the Chthonian depths, where neither sun nor moon holds sway. Within his sanctuary in Mennefer, jewel of the ancient realm, Kaelin resides. Walls fashioned from immense polished stones form his terrestrial abode, their surfaces vibrant with intricate frescoes. Moonlight catches, sharp and brilliant, upon the distant apices of the pyramids glimpsed through his window. These magnificent geometries ascend, silent sentinels above the slumbering metropolis. A mortal frame crowned with the elegant head of an ibis, Kaelin's long, slender beak dips low, nearly brushing the parchment where his script blooms, painting the intricate figures of the old tongue, a familiar, vital perfume. The essence of the life-giving river drifts into his chamber, suffusing the air with its earthen sweetness. This water, the very pulse of existence here, threads its way through the city. A delicate zephyr whispers through the fronds of palm trees, while the firmament glitters, myriad stars gazing down upon the stoic great sphinxes. Presently, Solarian will stir, consuming the moon and stars in his awakening, rising with the incandescent sun. Come nightfall, he shall voyage back to the netherworld, a bulwark against the encroaching forces of unmaking. Yet, existence was not always patterned thus. In the Genesis, there existed only Solarian, the sun, and the abyssal deep, the primordial waters. Solarian found pleasure in observing the waters shimmer beneath his effulgence. He marked how the glow transmuted with the day's passage, thus retaining the name Solarian for the zenith sun, yet calling himself Aurum at the dawn's first blush and Vesperos, when dusk painted the heavens in shifting hues. Loneliness crept upon Solarian, with no other divinities for discourse. So he brought forth the wind, Zephyrus, who rustled through the palms, caressing their broad leaves. Then came the rain, quenching the arid desert air with blessed droplets. From Solarian's own tongue sprang Kaelin, god of the moon, the stars, hidden lore, written word, and the measure of time. With earth, rain, and wind established, life inevitably stirred. Exquisite flora blossomed across the land. Insects and fauna converged upon this fertile domain. Thinkers of profound depth, artisans of vision, tellers of tales, and builders of marvels claimed this place as their own. Solarian's solitude dissolved. He walked among the people, the greenery, the creatures, his falcon visage held high above the mortals, who offered him reverence and honor. Solarian nurtured the crops and bestowed upon artists and scribes the light needed for their grand creations. Solarian governed the terrestrial sphere, while his divine sibling, Malachor, held dominion over all that lay beneath. The underworld, realm of gods and departed heroes, was a place of stark beauty intertwined with chaos. The mortal plane, bathed in sunlight, remained a bastion of order. So passed many ages. Solarian designated a pharaoh to champion law and stability among the river dwellers, while Malachor kept to his subterranean kingdom. But unease eventually stirred within Malachor. A yearning grew to witness the world of fleeting lives. As time flowed on, the chaos native to the underworld began subtly to permeate the earth above. Consequently, the men and women of the riverlands ceased their veneration of Solarian, his temples standing quiet. Yet Solarian remained resolute. He perceived a path to mend the world's harmony. Turning to Caelin, he declared, "You have ever been my aid in preserving equilibrium. The calendar is your design, the seasons your charge. Now a new duty awaits. You must maintain vigil over earth through the night." Solarian elucidated his own nocturnal descent into the underworld, ensuring Malachor remained confined. By day, however, Solarian's work lay upon the earth. Each morning at first light, his celestial pilgrimage commences. His rosy fingers reach from the east, unfurling the day. With his vast mouth, he engulfs the moon, and by his rays, the cities along the great river awaken. Merchants cry their offerings in bustling markets. Women barter keenly for milk, eggs, and bolts of cotton. Enchanters conjure wonders before spellbound crowds, while painters apply pigments to stone. In the fields, farmers cast seeds, wheat, barley, flax, and grapevines. And within the towns, children attend tutors, learning the mysteries of reading and writing. As midday ascends, Solarian holds court high in the heavens. The searing heat compels farmers and vendors indoors for respite. Cool, fresh fruit, nurtured in the fertile silt near the river, offers refreshment. Even Solarian partakes of succulent figs and sweet grapes, basking in the afternoon's golden glow. Meanwhile, beneath the sun's potent gaze, pharaohs traverse grand palaces, commissioning temples, pyramids, and eternal resting places. The architects of this ancient land are master artisans, commanding vast labor and precious materials to erect cities of breathtaking scale. And these river people are among the earliest cultures to embrace a system of writing. During the long, torrid afternoons, Scribes meticulously chisel hieroglyphs into stone stelae and brush delicate characters onto papyrus scrolls. Hieroglyphs, words embodied in pictures, beautiful phonetic shapes, are carved into monuments and painted upon walls. Demanding great skill, hieroglyphic script is often the preserve of priests and statesmen. Rather than adhering to a strict left to right or right to left convention, hieroglyphs are invariably read toward the direction the depicted figure faces. Frequently, this figure is avian, a detail Kaelin, with his ibis head, finds particularly pleasing. While the scribes pursue their intricate work, the sun god Solarian continues his arc across the sky, drifting westward of the great river. Long boats ply the waters, arriving and departing from the northern Mediterranean coast, conduits for goods flowing to and from the wider Near East. Beyond the river's fertile banks, Solarian gazes upon the undulating dunes below, where golden dust dances on currents of air. Zephyrus, god of air and wind, offers a subtle smile to Solarian, and specks of sand glint within the breeze. Solarian, journeying west, begins his slow descent. Back in the city of Mennefer, gilded rays brush the rooftops as families convene for their evening repast. Scribes, magicians, merchants, and farmers return to their hearths for sustenance. Solarian observes these families, from the humblest tiller to the mightiest pharaoh, arranging dishes upon tables small and large. There are verdant vegetables simmered with garlic, spiced lentils, eggs, and fresh bread. Across the land, honey-sweetened beverages accompany the hearty fare, alongside shared narratives and bursts of laughter. Solarian commences painting the sky in washes of pink, purple, and crimson. His time approaches to descend into the underworld, while mortals sleep and dream, gathering strength for the morrow. Solarian goes below to watch over Malachor, preserving cosmic order. His brilliant colors flare across the heavens as he steers toward the horizon to meet Viridia. She is the consort of Kaelin and the goddess of truth and justice. Alongside her husband, Viridia orchestrates the stars and the rhythm of the seasons. Through truth and fairness, she maintains the delicate cosmic balance. By day, Viridia stands sentinel over Solarian's celestial bark, moored at the edge of the mortal domain. At twilight, she witnesses his departure, sailing into the netherworld. Now, stars pierce the deepening velvet of night. The moon ascends, signaling Solarian's time of leaving. He steps into his vessel and then, with a parting grin and wave to Viridia, paddles down toward the realm below. Through the ensuing hours, he will navigate his boat along the river of the underworld. The final vestiges of sunlight vanish from the sky. The moon god, Kaelin, recognizes his watch has begun. His quill whispers across the papyrus, marking the passage of hours, days, months, seasons. Meanwhile, the clamorous streets of the great Egyptian cities fall silent. Stars blaze fiercely against the black canvas, and the full moon bestows its gentle light as parents soothe their children into slumber. By this same lunar radiance, Colin labors upon his treatises of alchemy and astronomy, committing to parchment arcane secrets that inquisitive minds will ponder for generations hence. Men and women recline within their homes, sharing companionship and spinning tales. Sleep will soon claim them, but Kalin remains vigilant, guarding equilibrium as he weaves his own narratives. These are the chronicles recounted beside flickering fires and beneath starlight, concerning the Egyptian pantheon and the people who honor them. They are the sagas of architects raising towering pyramid complexes and scholars delving into ancient forms of magic. Some, like the Hellenes who will follow, whisper that Kalin authored the Emerald Tablets, a legendary text cited as the cornerstone of alchemy, the art of transmuting matter and brewing wondrous elixirs. Many seekers believe these tablets hold the cipher to crafting the philosopher's stone, the key to undying life. As Kalin immerses himself in his arcane studies and watches over the sleeping world, Solarian proceeds on his journey below. His boat sways gently as he glides along the underworld river, mirroring the Nile's flow above. He travels, acknowledging the heroes and pharaohs of bygone eras. Numerous deities inhabit this domain. Malachor reigns supreme here, but the underworld is also home to Sepulchris, god of preservation and passage, and Amara, goddess of love and fecundity. They all reside amidst the sprawling fields and wondrous caverns of the world beneath, where trees of turquoise hue line the pathways. Kalin and Viridia also claim this place as home, dwelling above only when the moon and stars hold dominion. High above, the mortals drift deeper into sleep. They rest untroubled, secure in the knowledge that Solarian maintains order below, while Kalin and Viridia stand guard overhead. Kalin understands that when the sun begins its ascent, he will exchange places with Solarian. When Solarian erupts from the underworld, bearing daylight, Kalin shall return below. This cycle they repeat every 24 hours. But for this moment, Kalin savors the tranquil night. He gazes out across the vast expanse of Mennefer, the ancient heart of this land. Though the fortunes of this ancient civilization will ebb and flow numerous times throughout its long chronicle, the marvels constructed here shall enthrall the world for millennia yet unborn. A faint smile touches Kalin's features as his pen scratches the parchment. He cherishes this quiet interlude of night, where the tension between order and chaos finds a calming stasis. Yet, he knows he is not solitary in his wakefulness. Others share his appreciation for the night. For in Mennefer, night is the province of hidden knowledge. While families slumber, astronomers slip from their beds, cloaked in warm shawls. They turn their eyes skyward. Where others perceive only scattered points in the void, these watchers discern patterns. They christen the constellations after cherished gods and resonant myths. The geese of Solarian is one ancient stellar pattern, lost to modern reckoning. But tonight, two renowned configurations dominate the celestial sphere, patterns that will one day be known as the Plough and Orion. These sky readers fulfill a vital function for the people of the Nile. Through generations of observation, they have learned to interpret the stars' signals, predicting the river's inundation, enabling farmers to structure their agricultural year. The celestial readings guide the timing of annual festivals, and, some believe, offer glimpses into destiny. Observing the risings of sun and moon, studying the stars' positions, also serves a more pragmatic purpose. It allows the division of time into days, months, and years. Perhaps for this reason, Kalen, god of the moon, is credited with devising the 365-day calendar. Astronomers employ an instrument named the Merket to scrutinize the night sky, helping them tally the nocturnal hours by the stars. The Merket measures the decans, clusters of 36 stars forming a celestial clock. The Book of Nut, an ancient Egyptian astronomical codex, details how these stars chart the days, months, and hours. As the hours glide silently onward, the astronomers must stow their instruments and return to their beds. For soon Solarian will usher in the dawn. Kalen, sensing the imminent transition, concludes his riding for the evening and departs his temple. Strolling along the Nile's bank, he pictures Solarian drifting below upon the river of the gods' realm. Soon, Kalen will trade places, wandering through subterranean caverns, witnessing lakes of fire and turquoise trees. Yet Kalen relishes his nights in the mortal sphere too, with its wide, open spaces shimmering under the glorious moon. He marvels at the city mortals have raised. Massive, smooth blocks ascend into pyramids, the legacies of past pharaohs intricately carved into enduring stone. The Nile murmurs and gurgles as it flows over rock, silt, and earth. These gentle sounds lull the sleeping populace, while night birds call softly overhead. Kalen's beak gleams in the starlight as he walks, awed by the magnificent place he is privileged to inhabit. So many treasures reside here: vast tombs, pyramids, sphinxes, preserved remains, and potent magic. Then there is the language, the art, the mythology. This civilization will eventually recede, yet its culture shall echo through millennia. Finally, the last deacon of the night concludes, heralding the first rays of dawn. Solarian slowly ascends from the world below. It is time for Kalen to descend to the land of the gods for the day, traversing the banks of the underworld river instead of the Nile. Thus unfolds the passage of days and nights. Solarian circles the sky above, descending below at dusk. Kalen rises with the evening, keeping the stars and moon shining brightly until dawn, chronicling the stories of mortals as they dream. Solarian awakens the people with the dawn's light. Soon they will stir, ready to embrace their day. Exploring the wonders of this magical land they are fortunate to call home. And then Solarian will complete his circuit once more, painting the sky a mural of pink and purple and red, signaling that it is time again to sleep.